There, now that I've donned mostly the proper attire, just fix up the hair slightly. That sounds good enough. Now, camera's crooked. Sorry about that. I know, I haven't uploaded in forever. Probably a good thing. We're gonna be talking about today, Akira, Volume 1. I have the first 3. I have the others ordered, coming in the mail. One's probably gonna come, Volume 4 is probably gonna come the quickest. So, I need to get started on reviewing this. Now, this copy that I have is the re-release from, let me find the date. The republication from 2009. So yeah, this is the republication of the manga series from 2009 and was originally published in 1984. So yeah, this is the beginning of the craze that was the Akira series. An interesting fact about Akira, there's a movie that goes along not as good as the manga, because the manga was, I believe, only 2 volumes in when the movie was created, so it kind of creates this interesting void where both are the true story. The manga is just longer because it was written before, during, and after, and concluded after the film was released. And what I also find interesting is that Otomo, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Otomo. Yeah, he was, I believe, the screenwriter and the director of the movie, as well as writing and doing the art for the manga. And speaking of the manga art, holy dick, I will get into it later, but Jesus Christ, the art in this is next fucking level. It's pretty insane shit. Now, part 1 of the manga, this one, it's literally just, I think they go by character names. So part 1 is Tetsuo. Let me get part 2 and 3. Part 2 is Akira 1. Part 3, I believe, is Akira 2. Yeah, Akira 2. And the thing about each part is that the first 2 or 3 pages are in color. So, which is actually a very nice thing. I think it adds a little bit of extra splash to it. So, see? The first few are actually in color, and massive spreadsheets like this where there's no dialogue and it's just the image, of course, aside from the title and the author's name. These are everywhere. These are littered throughout the rest of the rest of the volumes and parts. And I love that because it just gives you this sense of emptiness and just looking at the destruction around. And that, I think, is an amazing thing. Especially for a story like this. So I'm going to get into the plot of at least just part 1 a little bit without going too far, because I do plan to do a comparison, which I will definitely go into more detail. So basically the idea of, not the basis of Akira, the story behind Akira is this biker gang led by Tetsuo. Not Tetsuo, fuck, that's going to sound awful. Biker gang led by Kaneda, and Tetsuo is one of the main characters in the biker gang, though he is not really a head leader. Tetsuo and Kaneda were orphans in the same home, growing up as young boys, and to do that they got in some fights and they began this biker gang. So, and in Akira, the big red bike that you've probably seen in a lot of anime drawings, or if you're a fan of Kanye West, I'm not sure why you would do that to yourself. I believe he has an entire music video based off of the Akira and it was a partner with in partner with Daft Punk, who did the beat for it. Basically, it was just the lyrical version of, for I believe it's just called Better, Faster, and Stronger. So it's that really big red bike that you've probably seen in a lot of either references towards Akira, and the impact of the Akira story as a whole was insane throughout both anime, manga, and even Western cartoons. Like, you can see some instances in, of course, The Simpsons or South Park, or even just regular shots where the person's riding and they turn to their left or their right and lean on the bike to stop it. And there's that shot where the bike is here, camera's here, and then the bike just keeps moving back. Of course, that has to do with the movie. I need to get back on the basis towards the manga. Which means I need to get the book again. I'm not sure why, but... So yeah, the story is basically Tetsuo and Kaneda are these two people in this biker gang, and of course, them being in a biker gang, they get into violence with other biker gangs, most notably the Clowns. I believe they have another name, but they're basically just titled as the Clowns, or Biker Clowns. And they basically each have their own little altercations, and because one of the bigger altercations ends up with Tetsuo crashing into this kid on a highway, that's when shit hits the fan, and that's basically like the catalyst for everything to happen in the story. And it's done differently in the manga than it was in the movie. In the movie, he just crashes into him, and the kid kind of disappears after the crash itself happens. And the kid, who is known as number, I believe it was 26. I just saw it, so I should have remembered it. Yeah, known as number 26 in the manga. He kind of just teleports away and fades. In the movie, I believe that he just disappears within the explosion or just directly after. And immediately after the explosion, Tetsuo is taken to the hospital, and that's when his psychic powers awaken. And shit goes crazy. It's fucking amazing. It's a great story, but I think the cool thing about the story is that the movie diverges at a point, but they kind of reconnect. So if the manga goes left, about in the middle section, the movie's going to go right, and then they're just going to reconnect in the middle, at the end. And I think that's really, really cool. Because it was said that since the movie came out during and after, or more during the serialization and creation of the manga, that the manga's ending was shaped around the movie's ending. And once I get around to reading the end of the manga, I will be able to confirm and establish the differentiating points between them. But again, this is Akira Part 1. I want to keep the spoilers light in the manga episodes until I finally do a series review of all the volumes. Because once I'm able to do that, I'm able to have much more information, and I want to be able to go more into plot stuff when I talk more about the movie in its own separate video and review. Because when I do that, that means I can actually go into direct comparisons of the spoiler moments within movie and manga. And if you can, I know the movie is definitely on Hulu because that's where I've been watching it. If you can, go watch the movie. Trust me. Watch it maybe twice. I think the best way to watch it is 2 times, not one after the other, because of course you got shit to do. You might not be able to sit down for 4 hours and watch a movie. Snyder Cut. Or technically a movie twice for 4 hours, and still be able to get up and take a piss afterwards. But yeah, if you don't understand it, just rewatch it, because I definitely, around the middle point, that's where people have the toughest time staying with it, especially in my experience, because that's where the pacing kind of halts, and a lot of the introduced like little side tangent plots, they kind of like disappear, and they just kind of reappear randomly at the end in different moments. And of course, because I am of the weeaboo persuasive position, watching it in the original Japanese subbed version, that's going to be the best. because there was little to no edits and little to no Americanization, which is a great thing. Holy fuck, especially for the 80s. Damn. But I'll get into that in its own separate video. But yeah, if you can, watch it once, maybe twice. If you plan to only watch it one time, at least pay attention to it, because if you don't, you're gonna get lost. I'm not saying you have to be always there looking at the screen, but once you understand Akira, not the movie itself, but Akira as a whole, not even the entirety of the story, just Akira as a character and as a concept. Once you understand Akira, then you can like start looking away and you can rewatch it again with a different mindset. And if you rewatch it for the finale, which I think is the most well-known part because of all the crazy animation shit that they went through, changing from 18 to 22 frames per second, especially where Tetsuo recreates his arm. Again, I'll go into that in its own separate video. I just really wanted to mention that. Basically, the animation is... it's like fucking getting shit. Like, it's fucking phenomenal. It's like that, even just if you watch that finale end part alone, you're gonna be like hella surprised on the shit they were able to pull off in the 80s. Was it the 80s? Because if it wasn't, I'm gonna look like such a fucking retard. Hold up, I want to just double check. Yeah, in the 80s. Because that would look real bad if I was wrong. Fuck. Yeah, so if you can, read the manga. If you're able to, watch the movie. You will not be disappointed. If you don't pay attention and you don't understand, rewatch that movie. If you're one of those people, watch it on acid. I hear it's a hell of a trip. But yeah, so essentially it's just... I love how I just go from watch it on acid to plot. But, no, basically, it's about these two people, Tetsuo and Kaneda, who are in this biker gang. Tetsuo basically runs over this kid known as 26 in the manga, and that awakens his latent psychic abilities. And as the story progresses, his psychic abilities awaken and mature at a rate that even Tetsuo himself can't control and handle. And eventually, shit goes fucking nuts. So yeah, it gets pretty fucking insane, and I love every minute of it. But more into specifically what happens in the first chapter, because that's kind of the point of this video. I guess it could be an introduction, but whatever. So yeah, basically the pre-part of the story is that I believe that they're trying to prevent war. Yeah. So basically, at one point in Tokyo, a cybernetic blast occurred, and that started World War III at the time. And by the time the story of Akira itself with Tetsuo and Kaneda happens, that is after World War III, and Tokyo has rebuilt itself as this cityscape of immense technology, and it also kind of shows both the fear of the aftermath of technological accidents and such. So Neo Tokyo becomes this incredible, like, even at night, like, kind of like the Las Vegas style, or kind of like what Akihabara looks like at night. And it's just like this crazy cityscape of lights and clubs, and basically it becomes kind of like a dystopia of just crazy shit. Like, schools are disrespected and nobody pays attention, kind of like normal school, but on a much bigger basis. Excuse me. And essentially, I believe Kaneda's kind of fucking the school nurse in the manga, because there's a point where she's like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna have a kid," and Kaneda's kind of using her just to get supplements and pills, which are known as capsules, because we see less of the bar in the manga so far than we do in the movie. In the movie, that's where they end up getting a lot of their drugs, and that's where the good for the heart, bad for education writing on the back of Kaneda's jacket comes from. The idea of the capsule pills, they're good for you, they're good for the heart, but they're bad for the mind type shit. delicious. Fuck that. Ugh, ratty ass hair. So, yeah, it just ends up becoming this crazy story of this group called the Resistance going against the government at this point, and it's kind of like what's gonna win out, the Resistance or the government, or it's just one of those types of stories, and everything just starts going crazy and batshit insane near the end with Katsuo's psychokinetic powers just going off the wall and fucking nuts and insanity shit. So if you can, I'm gonna restate this. If you can, watch the movie. If you can, read the manga. You won't be disappointed. It's fucking insane. In the manga, there's pages upon pages of silence, and there's just citywide destruction. And it really gives you a visual of just the silence and eeriness of this city that's been destroyed by these explosions of psychokinetic energy, and it's all real crazy shit. And it's like a fucking crazy ass ride that once you're on it, you don't want to get off. Unless, of course, you hate stories and fucking around. But yeah, it's insane. If you can, I'm gonna say it again. I'm saying it all the time. Read the manga or watch the movie. You won't be disappointed. If you're like me, I suggest watching the movie more. There's less of it. You can still get a similar story out of it in about 2.5 hours than you will by reading the manga. But it's still a similar story, and they're both the correct story. There's only like really big differences in the middle, because small or meaningless characters in the movie are big plot-driven characters in the manga, just because of how both were released. So yeah, I'm going to be going more into depth in the story of Akira as I get the other volumes, because I want to do a really big comparison video of this is what happens in the movie, these are the movie's characters, this is what happens in the manga, these are the manga characters, this is their difference, this is that, the other thing. And I want to do a real big comparison set for that. So until that comes out, I will be doing my best to continue getting content out. A lot of it is slow, a lot of it's really shitty phone editing, because I record and edit on my phone, so I'm going to do my best to keep getting stuff out to you guys. So yeah, until then, I am Sloppy from Sloppy's Weeaboo Corner. I will see you all later. Goodbye.